Right, good evening everybody. Some of you will be shocked, or you'll be surprised that I'm only saying good evening. It's because this is the time I am using in recording these videos. So today we're going to be talking about divs and spans. So what is a div and what it does? In this lecture we will show some examples of div and spans tag. I'm sure by now some of us we might have heard of divs, but you are kind of wondering what is a div, what is a span. Don't worry much, just relax. We're going to understand it. However, we won't really be able to utilize them until we learn about CSS. Now divs and spans, they are useful when we are talking about, or when we are using CSS with HTML. But since we are only talking about HTML, I only wanted to just introduce it now so that you'll be aware of them. By the time we start to make use of them, or by the time I'm talking about divs later on in the future, you won't be shocked, you'll be surprised of where this all came from. Are you getting it now? So keep that in mind as we learn about them. So straight now I'm going to dive into our text editor. Don't forget I'm using Visual Studio Code and I have my browser here. If you remember, this is where we stopped in our last tutorial, in our last video. I'm working on the nested list that we did. So now I'm going to copy out this because we don't currently need them. Okay, so let me save and refresh. Divs and span, that's what we're talking about today. Divs and span. I guess I'm too zoomed in here, so let me zoom out a little bit here so that we can accommodate more. Yes, hope you are still seeing the screen. You understand? So hope you are still seeing the screen. Alright, so now let's go straight. Let's say I have H2 here, header 2. I believe you know what the header is by now, and let me call it group 1. Let me call it group 1. And also I have a paragraph. Tag. It's not a must that you give space. So I have a paragraph and I call it, and it says I also want to be in group 1. Right now we're talking about divs. Okay, first of all, let me save this, let me refresh, let's see what we have. We have group 1. I also want to be in group 1. Now okay, now let's have another work called H2 again. Let's call it group 2. And we have another paragraph saying I also want to be in group 2. Right, let's save this. Let's come over here, let's refresh. We have group 1, I also want to be in group 1. Group 2, I also want to be in group 2. Right, now let's say now we're making use of CSS and I want to apply a specific text to header 2 in my group 1. Maybe I want my group 1 H2 to carry the color red, and the group 2 element and the group 2 H2 here to carry the color green, right? But once I call H2, the color, let's say now I said H2, then I specify the color red. That red is going to be applied to every H2 in our file, in our current document that we're working on. But with the help of these, we are able to separate, we are able to apply a specific color, a specific style or font to a particular group or to a particular element. Now What do I mean by that? For us to make use of div, we'll call the word div, then we'll copy this, we'll copy all this, okay, let's cut it, then paste it inside of the div element. Now this div carries an attribute called class. Don't worry much about divs for now, but I just want you to be aware of div, so that by the time we start making use of them, or by the time we're talking about it later on in the future, it won't be strange to you. So we have div class. Let's give it a class name of group 1. Right now, I was making use of CSS. Once I go over to CSS, then I call the class name group 1. I can apply that specific color to just this group 1 H2 header without that color affecting the other H2 here. I don't know if the explanation is clear enough. If I should save this now and refresh, nothing happens, because these divs currently in HTML, they mean nothing to our work here. But when we are making use of CSS, that is when we'll be talking about divs. That is all about div. Now let's talk about span. You know, we are talking about divs and span. Div simply means division, right? So div is used to group elements together in order to apply styles, color, font to them. Is that clear? Now let's make use of span. Let's say now I want to have the color orange. I think orange is my best color if I'm not mistaken. Alright, so let me add a span to this. Add a span. Then let me cut the of this. Let's say this is what I want. I want to have the color of orange, right? Then I copy it inside of the span. Let me save and refresh. Nothing happens, right? Because the divs and span means nothing currently now. But when we are making use of CSS, that is when I will start making use of them properly. Now the div is used to group multiple elements together, while the span is just used in between elements, just as you see. Hope it's clear. So thank you. I'll see you shortly. I'll see you in the next video.